Hi Marcelino. I wasn't sure exactly what you were asking, so I'm just going to explain what I did here, and hopefully it makes sense to you. So instead of, like what you did the first time, you had an attribute on a blog post for private. So I've kind of simulated having an attribute by creating an attr accessible on the blog post. And what this would require when you what it would do when you would create a private attribute on a blog post, it would create some methods for you automatically. A private, which is what you call to get what the private state is, whether it's true or false, and then a private equals, which will allow you to set what the private is. So you'd say private equals true to set that to private, or private equals false to set it to false. And what I found was this status was coming in as a string of 1 or a string of 0. So I actually checked to see if the status string is the number 1 as a string, then I mark this as private. And what I was finding here was the organization. The author. The author of the post was not set here when I was creating a new post. So what I had to do was I used a temporary variable to set that whether the user chose if this was private or not. So I just set the marked private variable as true or false for when they set it. And then this set feed is called up here after create and update. Because this def equals private, this one is being called when you're creating it, which it doesn't have this author yet. So so after it has been created, then this will call the after filter. So after created or update, it will call the set feed, which will then call set feed on the post and resave it. So it's already been created and saved, and now I'm setting the feed and resaving it. And what this set feed is doing is grabbing the organization of the author of the post and grabbing the variable whatever they set to as private or public, and it is adding either the private feed of that organization or the public feed of that organization to the feeds array of the post, and it's deleting the opposite one. So if it adds the private one in, then it deletes the public feed from there, and if it adds the public feed in, it's deleting the private one. So for now we won't have any other feed, so it's just swapping between these two. It's either the post feeds is either going to have the private feed or the public feed of the organization. And then you had a specific question around this. So this is in a standard attribute, this def private would just grab the attribute from the database if it's true or false and just return whether it's true or false. So we don't have I don't want to save the attribute in the database. I want to see based on the feeds whether it is private or not. So this actually just returns a boolean because it's the feed's length is greater than 0 is going to return true or false, and this is an and then if the post feeds, the first element of the post feeds is private, because a feed can be private or not, then the post feed's length has to be greater than 0, and the first element has to be private, and that will return true. So if these are both true, this will return true. So that's all this is. If both of these return true, and if not, return false. So then this, where we put the form, the checkbox in, when you say checkbox private, this is going to set the checkbox to true or false based on calling the private method of the post private, and it'll say, oh, it's private, so it'll check the box. And if the first is not private, if the first feed of the post is not private, if it's public, then it will return false, and this will not check the box. But then when it's trying to save this, if this box is checked and it's saving it, it will call the post, it will set this private to true, which will mark the private variable, which will put the private feed of the organization into the feeds list of the post. And I'm sorry I haven't had any time to look over those other five tasks that you have completed. I want to look at that, but my wife has been sick and I've been busy with the kids, and I've got another deadline on another project. So I'm sorry I haven't been able to get to that, but I will hopefully do that this week. But if you guys continue on doing the user stories, that would be great. Thank you.